I want to get into a very important statement before I actually get into the part about silver, gold, inflation, and all this deflation garbage. And I want to state some more. You know, I pretty much disagree with everybody out there in a way. Uh, I want to give you a straight scoop. Money, things you can actually bet your life on all the way. Don't sell your silver. Don't. But this is a more important point because this is actually going to be more important. This first one, a line I have up here. Supreme Court upholds the health care law. Yeah. Well, I could state it's unconstitutional, but that doesn't mean crap, right? You're going to have to actually fight this on an individual basis any possible way you can. Because, and this is one area I agree with Lindsey Williams, even though it takes 10 hours to say it, it's about total control. The healthcare law is about total control. And actually, I totally despise the healthcare system in general. I think doctors are the biggest bunch of Satanists going, right back down to the little cluck-cluck female that sits up there at the front desk. You know, they're all in there for money. They're all in there for money. They're not about healing. It's a big scam, and they're just a bunch of money whores. That's all they are. You need them when you got a traumatic injury. I think they do great then. But even then, there's even better methods that have been out. If you look back at Robert Otto Becker, MD, there was better methods out there even in the 70s to regenerate tissue and heal 100% that they're not using today. A lot of these experiments have been proven back in the 70s. But I don't know what their motivation is. I know a lot of it's money, but I think they're just plain evil. The American medical establishment's plain evil. The reason I'm bringing this up is if you have a gazillion dollars, and I don't care whatever you have all the wealth in the world. If you got these doctors get a hold of you and they screw you up, all the money in the world isn't going to do you any good. They're evil as shit. I personally hate their guts so bad you won't believe it. That's about all I'm going to say on here. But I can't stand them. I hate their guts, and that includes everything that's around them. But I actually do have a conscience because I'll actually post videos on things that I know help and cure people and actually contribute to health. I will be doing some more of those, but I don't like people getting overloaded with stuff. But some of the things I've already mentioned, I know they do a great amount of good to people versus just stealing money, and they do it for basically a minimum cost or no cost at all. Now, I mentioned that first because no matter how much money you come out ahead, your health is number one. And the Supreme Court upholding this health care law is nothing about health. It's about total control. Lindsey Williams is right about that, but I could see that plain as day without him telling me that. Now, this is a quote basically from Mark Farber that was recent back in the last month. He goes on to saying that there are more and more stocks that are breaking down, economically sensitive stocks and companies that cater to the high end. He says that it suggests to me, Mark Farber's talking, the economy is likely to weaken and that a huge asset run is likely to come to an end with significant asset deflation. So everybody's running into cash, fiat dollars, whatever you want to call them. Now, I tell you the truth. Well, obviously, the average person doesn't think like we do. They won't actually run to the safety of the metals and go into hard assets. But, you know, Mark Farber is pretty much into the hard assets, too. He's about over 25% into gold. And, you know, Jim Rogers is more into agriculture. But he's got other hard assets like oil and gold and things like that. What I think is going to happen is maybe a little bit more like this Robert Wiedemeyer, who's written extensively back even in 2006 predicting the 2008 crash. Now, he said before, this is a quote from him, that, and I don't quite agree with this, I think it's going to be either like one of the three, not all three, but he says the data is clear, 50% unemployment, a 90% stock market drop, and 100% annual inflation starting in 2012. Now, I don't think you're going to have a 90% stock market drop and 100% annual inflation at the same time, but it's going to be one or the other. Because the next thing that's probably going to drop is the markets, but they're not going to allow it to drop. That's what I'm keep thinking. Ben Bernanke's going to act, and they're going to pump the markets up. But that's going to cause major inflation. In other words, I talked about the dam, money behind the dam, people hoarding money are actually like the biggest, wealthiest people hoarding money, banks hoarding money. Doesn't matter if you got millions and millions of dollars or billions of dollars, if it's just sitting someplace, it's not in the economy, right? So it doesn't have any effect on inflation. This is exactly what happens every freaking time in every situation. The money supply, there's more money being pushed into the system. It's not being spent. It's an important consideration. This deflation right now is a total head fake. It is. It is. I'm 110% sure on it. 110% sure. If we got 100% inflation this year, I don't know. It's going to have to do a hell of a lot. But I think there's going to be at least 100% inflation in the price of silver. At least. Including palladium. That's what's going to happen. And I think Ben Bernanke's going to act this year because the markets are dropping. Now, this according to this Robert Wiedemeyer, he also says the Federal Reserve will print more money if the stock market drops 15 to 20%. It's kind of dropping. It's not down that far. But even Mark Farber says the same thing. And Ben Bernanke is actually contributing to the money supply. It's actually going up. It's going up. But that's, like I said, that's the head fake. The biggest money right now, they're getting out of the stock market. They're selling stocks. They're getting into cash. They're getting into bonds. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. So, you're 100% right to stay into the metals. I don't think it's going to test 15. I don't even think it's going to test 21. It's going to go below the 26. Everybody's concerned about the silver, but I don't think this stuff's going to go down as radical because I think Ben Bernanke's going to act. And it's coming up pretty soon. It is. It's like right now the feeling is he's never going to act. I know better. He's going to. He's going to. Just give it a little more time. It's not like you can't count, you hold your breath, wait each day. But it's not going to be like a year from now. It's going to be well before the election. Things are going to start. I mean, you're going to start seeing gold and silver before Obama gets reelected or doesn't get reelected. It's going to be going way the hell up already by then. And it's going to finish out in a year very strong. Despite what happens with China and anything. Because if China is having a problem, let me put it this way. What are they going to do? They're going to spend their money, right? Are they going to keep buying U.S. bonds even though they got direct access? Ha! Bullshit. They're not going to. They're not going to. You know what's going to happen then? The Fed's going to keep buying more and more of their own debt. Or the Treasury's going to buy more of the debt. Whatever the hell it is. But that's what's going to happen. And what that means is it's the end of the dollar. Period. It's not going to happen like it's going to end in 2012. But your gold and your silver is going to do very well this year. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. That I'm sure of. That's why it's not going to... I know it's not going to stay down. But like I said, I don't like what a lot of the silver pumper and dumpers are doing because they're permanent bulls. They never freaking change their tune. They just say it's always going up. Like I said, I think it's going below. Silver's going below the 26. But I don't think it's going to hit 21 or 20 or any of that garbage. Or 18, 15. Yeah, right. You know? And you know what? If if people had brains, if you had if you're a multi-billionaire, you'd be smart to actually dump all your money into silver right now. You would be. I know I would be doing that. 'Cause I know it's going to go way the hell up. And I would love to make double on like $1 billion. That would be nice. I would do that. I would do that. I'd be pouring into metals left and right. Because right now the prices are severely depressed. And the problem is, you know, how do you offload them later on? And I think that is going to be the major, major, major problem with silver and gold later on. Because as we have this 100% inflation or whatever we're going to have, I think it's going to be more like 20, 30%. It's going to be way the hell up there. I think we're going to have a 100% price increase in silver at least. But as the situation gets out of hand, they're going to put down the clamps as to where you can get rid of the silver at and how you do it. Just like they're looking for total control with the healthcare law, they're going to put a lot of controls on the metals. That's one reason I'm going to try to guess in and out. Sell when I think it's going to pull right before it's going to pull back. Not all of it, some of it. And then buy it back if I guess it right. You know, if it drops down $20 an ounce, I'll buy it back. I'll buy back the portion I sold. But if I guessed it wrong, I'm not going to sell unless I figure I got like a double or more on it, you know. That's the way I'm going to play it. But I'm not going to sell all of it. I'm going to sell some of it. But there's the other reason. Like I said, I think this stuff's going to $400, $500, $600, $700 an ounce or more with inflation. But silver inflation is going to be a lot faster than the rest of this stuff. I think it is going up that high. It might take a few years to get up that high, but it's going to go up that high. Problem is, when it's that high, and well before it gets that high, they're going to put a lot of controls on this stuff. And that is, I'm not sure how to deal with that. I'm not sure what they're going to do. But I know if I was them, that's what I'd be doing. It's like if you go back before you even had silver currency, you know, they used to have the cattle out there, the chickens and the goats, and they used to come by, and the tax man used to take, you know, a couple chickens, a couple goats, and a head of cattle. You know, they'll find a way to get their cut. That's what the thing is. And if you want to stop them, you're just going to have to stop them and have some balls. That's what it comes down to. And that's probably what you're going to need to do with this healthcare law garbage. It's my personal belief that with healthcare, this thing is probably the most dangerous thing we got going to freedoms in the United States. Flat out. Flat out. It's total control. They could screw you up in a million different ways with this thing. It actually was in the Soviet Union that dissidents were actually held in psychiatric wards. They weren't held in prisons. And they were pumped up with all this crap until they thought right and they were killed. In other words, if you start saying something they don't like, or the people that control you don't like, they're going to do it through this healthcare. This is a whole big federally run healthcare. It's a very, very dangerous rule. Very dangerous. And I'm not surprised the Supreme Court upheld it. And you're going to enforce it through the IRS. I know it. I'm 100% sure of it. So, if you want to stop that, you're just going to have to stop it. Period. That's the way you do it. You stop it. But, you know, the way I do it is like, I don't want to say what I want to do. Because that's one reason I don't like getting on here person to person too much either. Because, you know, I said enough on this crap already. And, but I know one thing. You don't stop it with just plain talk. You got to have some kind of balls. So let me put it to you this way. You know, hold on to the gold and silver. It's going to go way the hell up. The biggest problem is going to be later on how to cash it in. You know, how do you change it into the money that you use to exchange goods for? And you're not going to be able to just barter with this shit that easily. But I think your biggest danger to freedom right now is the fact that they upheld this healthcare law. But you know, I also have a question is, if this end of the world crap comes about what Robert Whittemer says, 50% unemployment, 90% stock market drop, 100% annual inflation, I wonder how this healthcare law is going to be enforced anyway if this situation got that bad. Who the hell would buy it? I wouldn't buy it. I don't care how much money I have. I wouldn't buy it, period, because I hate doctors. I hate them. I hate them worse. You know what? I hate doctors worse than I hate those stupid mullahs in Iran. Those religious kooks. So that gives you an idea. You know? So that's going to be the situation when it comes down to me.